Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas will play together in the opening round of the Tour Championship on Thursday evening, seeded first and second in the FedEx Cup standings as the season concluding series reaches its climax. It feels rather fitting, the result of a year in which the good friends and friendly rivals have been difficult to separate. Spieth has 3 victories this campaign, including the British Open. It gave him a third major title and a third leg of the career Grand Slam at age 23. Thomas, meanwhile, recorded 2 more wins, his haul highlighted by success at last month's US PGA Championship. It brought him a first major crown. Another victory for either this week at East Lake Golf Club offers plenty. The final tournament trophy of 2017 would also guarantee top spot in the season-long race. The same applies to Dustin Johnson, Mark Leishman and Jon Rahm, the players seeded 3 to 5 going into the Tour Championship. Win at East Lake, secure the FedEx crown, and that cool US $10 million DH 36.7 meters bonus check follows. It certainly appeals. What is more, there is a sideshow to the Atlanta shootout. In a reverse of the FedEx rankings, Thomas is the frontrunner to be named the PGA Tour's Player of the Year. Spieth is arguably his closer challenger. Johnson, the world number 1, could also lay claim to that particular honor, although his mid-year form collapsed just as the major season whirled into action. Back injured on the eve of the Masters in April, Johnson did not land one of the game's 4 most coveted titles. Victory at the Northern Trust last month, the FedEx opener, did lift his year's loot to 4 wins, though. However, Thomas remains the guy to beat. Even Spieth conceded as much this week. Even his 5 wins, unrivaled this year, do not tell the entire story. Thomas shot a 59 at the Sony Open in January, age 23, becoming the youngest player to break the sub-60 barrier. In June, he carded a 63 in the third round of the US Open at Erin Hills, the lowest score in relation to par in tournament history. At Quail Hollow last month, he not only deservedly joined the major winner's circle, but he stepped out, finally, from Spieth's shadow too. A month later, Thomas won the Dell Technologies Championship, the second leg of the Faravin FedEx Series. He began the season by bursting out of the blocks, winning 3 of his first 6 tournaments. Now, he is finishing it strongly. You start looking at the depth of the years and how they compare, said Spieth in reference of the Player of the Year award, which is voted by fellow pros. Justin, where he's at right now, it's harder for anybody to beat him in my mind. But I could make it difficult. It will be difficult to do that. For Thomas, a thoroughbred year has one final furlong to go. No doubt, winning the Tour Championship and FedEx Cup represents the priority, but being named Player of the Year would be a nice byproduct of his lateces and boon. He deserves the award, but so did Johnson last year and Rory McIlroy the year before. Neither went on to clinch the FedEx Cup. Do that this week, and Thomas will definitely end an already stellar year as its undisputed standout player.